To get back out on the grass today and get back going. Had a good, kind of tough, hard-nosed practice today, which was good. Had a lot of things we needed to get corrected from Saturday night, and got some of that done, and obviously got off to implement our game plan for SMU this week. So I feel pretty good about what we accomplished today. I need to build off it tomorrow and have a good week of practice. I thought that was probably, honestly, the key for us improving last week. Was I thought we just had a really good week of practice. Our guys were really focused and had great effort. It was very physical, and saw some of that today. So, like I said, excited to get back going again.
Questions?
What's your overview of SMU?
Overview of SMU. Really good football team. I think that it's probably the best team SMU's had over there in a while, I would say. I think they're a lot better defensively, much improvement over where they've been. I think the defense is really playing well, and you can see why. They have, depending on what you look at, either 9 or 10 senior starters, on the defense. And so tons of experience, guys that have played a lot of football, a lot of multi-year starters mixed in with some really good transfers. And, they understand the scheme. They're playing fast, playing aggressive, and then offensively, a lot of good skill, as you would expect. And again, a lot of experience on the offensive line. I think 4 of the 5 starters, up front, were guys, that we recruited and have been multi-year starters in most cases. And, a lot of good skill players. Quarterbacks playing well. I think they're starting to get some running backs emerging, and those guys are playing well. They run hard. They're tough to tackle. Really efficient offensively. They do a good job taking care of the ball. Don't have many turnovers. So just a really good, solid football team, and a team that's going to be difficult to beat. Had Oklahoma in a game late into the fourth quarter, and, had opportunities to keep it really close and potentially win the game. And so they're a really good football team, and they'll be excited to play us.
Coach, your defense the last couple of weeks has shown improvement over the last couple of ball games. Mm-hmm. Is that merely reps, or is there more to it than that?
Well, I think there's always, you always have to kind of look at the big picture stuff. Part of it has to do with opponents, and the last 2 weeks probably haven't been the 2 best teams we're going to face offensively this year. But it's hard to not give up a touchdown in a college football game, no matter what. And I think it's a lot of its confidence. Just guys playing faster. Being more settled. I think, again, the first game we were very much unsettled, and I don't think that was indicative of what kind of defense we have. But it's out there. We did it, and it's on tape, and it's part of history, and you don't get to take it back. But our guys have improved, and I think we're playing fast. I think we're playing physical. We're tackling a lot better than we did. We're going to have to on Saturday. SMU's going to do a good job of getting the ball to guys in space, and we're going to have to really make sure that we do a great job tackling. But I just think overall it's just, playing more guys, good young players pushing older guys, playing more determined. Again, I think that a big part of that's playing more physical. And we've done a good job so far this season really stopping the run game. And I think that if you can stop the run and make people throw the ball, then that's going to give you a chance.
When you looked at the Oklahoma film, SMU Oklahoma film, what were some things that stood out to you?
Well, I think that, the 2 teams didn't look much different physically. I think that's where it starts. SMU looks a lot different physically than they have in the past. They're just a good-looking football team. They look like a team that's supposed to look from a physical standpoint. They're long, and they're big, and they're athletic, and they got good speed, and again, tons of experience. And so that stands out. And I think, when you look at the offense, I thought they held up really well up front. Quarterback, I thought, did some good things, gave them a chance to stay in the game. Did a good job on the run, getting out of the pocket, making some things happen. You know, and again, they've got, their skill is going to be, you know, on par with anybody we played this year from a skill perspective. And so, you know, just an overall really solid, good football team.
Coach, you recruited Preston Stone and coached him. How does it help this week when you're prepping for him, knowing what makes him comfortable and what makes him uncomfortable?
Yeah, I mean, I think that always helps a little bit. I think that, you know, I mean, it's you can kind of always identify what makes quarterbacks uncomfortable, and that's, you know, a good pass rush. You know what I mean? I think and that doesn't change from, you know, a quarterback in 7th grade to an NFL guy. If you can affect him and get him off schedule and get him uncomfortable, you know, that's what you want to do to Preston, and really that's what you want to do to any quarterback. I'm sure they would say the same thing about Chandler. What makes Preston a little different, though, I think, is he anticipates throws really well, does a nice job getting the ball out, throwing guys to spots. Those are really catchable ball. And then, you know, moves around in the pocket really well and creates not only running opportunities, but also opportunities for receivers to shake loose down the field. And he really throws well on the run outside the pocket, and that's something that he's always done, something we noticed, you know, 4 or 5 years ago when we started recruiting Preston. It's just his ability to improvise. He's just got a really good feel for playing football. And so I think he and Chandler are really similar in a lot of ways, just as a quarterback.
Coach, after the win at Houston, what are you hoping to see from your team to just carry over that?
Yeah, just improvement. I mean, I think the biggest thing, you know, that we talked about challenging our guys last week, again, was being the most excited team to play. That's going to be big for us this week. You know, we just played a night conference game. I mean, this is not an ideal time to play an out-of-conference game, coming off of a night Big 12 road game. You know, so we've got to just be excited to play. That's where it always starts. We've got to play physical, got to play tough. You know, we have to continue to make fewer and fewer mistakes. As I said earlier, SMU does a really nice job taking care of the football, and you know, we're going to need to do the same thing and create some turnovers defensively for ourselves, and that's going to be, you know, important. We've talked about it at length, but you know, now I think we're up to 15-0 over the last 2 years when we're even or win the turnover battle, and I think 0-3 when we don't. And so, you know, I think it's pretty clear that turnovers are going to be important.
What's your
In light of the fact that SMU made the commitment, jump to the ACC, how do you think that's going to change the dynamic between these two schools?
You know, I don't have any idea. I mean, I'd like to be able to say more, but I don't have any clue. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't know. Hard to predict the future and how that's going to play out, and I have no idea.
But do you think it will? Do you think it will have an effect? Not necessarily on the scheduling, just the competition between the two of the recruiting.
Yeah, I think so, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think it will. I mean, I think, you know, I mean, there's more changes coming from a conference perspective, you know, and so I think all this stuff's pretty temporary, you know, so we'll see. Let me see how it plays out.
Willis has been at right guard pretty much since he got here, but now that the games have started, what's just been your assessment of how he's looking on the O-line?
You know, I think he's playing well. I really do. I think he's getting settled in. You know, I think, you know, probably the biggest adjustment is just the speed of the game, you know, and then playing on an offense. You know, we ran 90-something plays last week, and so that can be hard for offensive linemen. It's a lot of plays. And so I think he's still adjusting to that, to the number of plays that we're playing in games and the speed that we're going and the speed of the overall game. But I think he's played well. I've been pleased with him. I mean, he's a smart kid, really conscientious. You know, football is really important to him. Really enjoys, you know, being part of a team and a good teammate. And I just got a lot of respect for him. I mean, I think I love the way he comes to work every day and approaches doing his job, and he takes a lot of pride in it. And so I'm excited about him, and I think his best football is still in front of him.
Do you feel settled at that corner opposite of Josh Newton?
I think we're getting there. You know what I mean? I think we're getting there. I think that certainly coming out off of week 1, I would say no. Feel like we settled in better week 2. Feel like we got even more settled this week. You know, and the good thing is we've got 3 or 4 guys that can do it collectively. You know what I mean? I think Josh is you know, obviously a guy that's got experience and has been a leader and is a proven is a proven guy, and the other guys are getting better. And I think that position, the good thing is we have 3 or 4 capable guys, that we think could get the job done. And so you're always waiting for somebody else to emerge and lock that position down. And so it could be a little bit like running back for us, where it's a little bit more by committee. You have someone that gets the bulk of the reps, and then but also 2 or 3 other guys are going to play.
We've talked a lot this season about availability being really important for wide receivers, especially in practice. How have you seen that play out with Savion based on what he did?
Yeah. I mean, it's just hard for anybody to be a good football player if they don't practice. I mean, that's just, I just have seen very, very, very few football players, and I'm talking, if you sit down and you go back and you look at Tom Brady get interviewed, Tom Brady played quarterback in the NFL for 20 years, and no telling how many practices he had. Probably most of those years they probably averaged 17, 18 games, maybe 19 games, plus preseason games, plus all that stuff. And he would be the first to tell you, like, if he didn't practice during the week, he typically didn't play well. Or if he missed a practice or missed a part of practice, he didn't play well. And it's just really important from a timing standpoint when you're talking about receivers and quarterbacks that those guys are on the same page. And the only way they get on the same page is through repetition, and the only way they get repetitions is in practice. And it's just, when you're trying to get caught up in games, you're not going to like the outcome. I mean, that's just not a good good way to try to get caught up. And so, Savion had a great week of practice, was available all week, practiced hard. I think, Chandler began to get confidence in him, and then you can see the result. And I would expect the same thing moving forward. Practiced really well today and made some plays in practice. And again, I think the more reps he gets, the more the quarterback and Savion will be on the same page, and the more productivity he'll have.
There was a stretch against Houston where you guys turned to Ben Whitfield for, I think, maybe a quarter or two. What did he just kind of show you getting in that moment?
Yeah, a true freshman. I mean, I think physically Ben is there. He's a big, strong kid. He's young. He made some mistakes, but it's really important to him. I think he has a very, very bright future. He's got a lot of pride in his performance. Likes football. He likes to practice, likes to work, likes to compete. So it's good to get him some reps, and we had some guys kind of go in and out with a little bit of, dinged up here and there, and he kind of came in the game and settled us down a little bit, and I thought he did a good job. Now, he made some mistakes. I mean, we saw a lot of blitzes out of that Houston defense last week, and a lot of different looks and some things that were tough, but I thought he handled it well, especially for his first really extended experience.
Coach, Shad Banks got to play a little bit more this past week. What are his expectations for you guys?
I think the great thing about Shad is you can play both of those inside linebacker positions. You know what I mean? And so it kind of goes back to what we talk about all the time. We feel like he's one of the 3 best players at the inside linebacker spot. He can kind of jump in and play either one of those and play him effectively. And he's big enough. To be able to take Jamoy's spot, and he moves well enough to be able to take Johnny's spot, and so he can do a lot of different things. And so the way I see it, I mean, it's we have basically 3 starters at that inside linebacker position, and Shad, I would imagine, would continue to get pretty heavy load week after week.
Coach, you've been on both sides of this rivalry. Just talk about, from your perspective, what the Iron Skill Gamings do in this team.
Say it again. The what?
What the Iron Skill Gamings
do. I think historically it's been a big football game. I think it's still a big football game. I think it's you get 12 games, and so you're not going to get that many opportunities to go out and play, and every one of them matter, and they're all important, and especially if you have high expectations for your program, then you need to win. You need to win all your non-conference games, and you certainly need to win this game, and that's just the way it is. And I think from a coaching perspective, we've always chased wins. You know what I'm saying? I've never been a guy that sits there before the year starts and circles games and says, this win's going to be more than this one, or whether to me that's never been the case. I always thought that You know, when I was at SMU, I always felt like North Texas was just as big a game as TCU was, just because it was a non-conference game, you know, and it was a chance for us to put ourselves on the map. And the only way you get attention really in college football is to, you know, to do what we did last year, get off to a great start, you know, run through the regular season 12-0, and then all of a sudden people start to pay attention. And so in order to do that, you have to win these type of games.
When you look at that week 1 game against Colorado and what how well they've done the last 3 weeks, is that
No, doesn't sit any better.
doesn't?
No, no.
Even though as you guys
If they went 12-0, it wouldn't sit any better.
would it be worse because you had to lead.
Yeah, I mean, we just didn't play well. I mean, that's the thing. It's not any ill will or lack of respect toward Colorado. They've done a great job. I mean, you know, the comeback they had Saturday, I mean, that showed a lot of grit, and, you know, but, you know, we didn't play well, and that was what I was disappointed in. Again, that has nothing to do with them, just wish we would have played better.
This is a general college athletics question.
Okay.
So in the last year or so, with the portal now becoming a part of college sports and NIL money and all that other stuff, I think fans and many members of the media too think the college player is now a pro.
Yeah.
I've heard that a lot. I think I haven't said it. Are they pros?
I mean, there's some guys that are, yeah. I mean, you know, I think the funny thing about college football is, and I'm not being critical of people here, but I think what happens is you have 6 or 7 guys on your team that have an opportunity to make a living playing football, you know, and if you have a really good team, then you might have 10 or 12 guys. You know, and I mean, what I mean by that is not being on a roster for a couple of years. I mean, actually getting a second contract and being able to make a living playing football. And so, you know, so you're really talking about, you know, 5 players maybe on a team that can do that. And so the other 95% of the guys are gonna, you know, get a job. And so, I mean, I don't think it is. I think it's the furthest thing from professionals. You know what I mean? I mean, I just from that perspective, and that's why I think we try to do everything that we do to get our players ready for their life when football's over. You know, because I think that's the one thing that I always felt growing up and with guys that I saw was, you know, players were disposable. It's like, you know, you used them for everything you could. You know, they played for you, they helped you win, and then it was like, you know, they were done, and some guys didn't have their degree, and if they wanted to come back to school, people didn't pay for it, and it was just like, hey, thanks for helping us, but you know what, we're done with you. And, you know, they didn't really prepare guys, I think, for that life after football. And it's one of the things that when I became a head coach, I just really wanted to focus on that, because like I said, 95% of the guys that sit here in this meeting room every day are going to have to, you know, go get a job. They're going to be bankers and teachers and coaches and, you know, all kinds of things. And so, you know, and a lot of these guys are going to make more money right now playing college football than they might ever make the rest of their life. You know what I'm saying? And so, you know, the way I see it, I don't know if they're really professionals or not. I mean, I don't think so. I think the vast majority of players play football because they love the game, they love being part of a team. And, you know, like I said, the 95 guys that come in this room every day, that's why most of them play, you know. And they're, like I said, they're 10 or 12 or 15 guys that have a chance, you know, and can play for a while. But so, I mean, that's a really long answer, but I don't know. I don't think so. You know what I mean? I think the definition is of a pro is different than that.